Hi, I'm Tonya, and this is the Wonder Basement, and I'm excited to share with you today a card that I made and for a swap this weekend. It was so much fun to make, and I'm going to show you how to make it right now. Okay, first of all, it's really a pretty simple card because when I'm making cards, I want it to be it has to be somewhat simple, because if you're making 20, 30, 40 cards, you've got to, this goes for Christmas cards too. You've really got to think about the design and how difficult it is. Now there was okay, so this is the gold gilding on the fish and on the coral, and then there's a little school of fish that has some gold gilding on it. Now I'm going to show you the stamps now. This is the stamp set, and so you can see that it's a very clear, solid fish here, and the little fish as well, and I stamped them several times. And then the coral is a little more open. What I found, really what I wanted to do is I'm really trying to practice my heat and stick technique, because this is a heat and stick powder that you use with the gold gilding that you apply the gold gilding on top of that, and that way you can use your stamps to actually adhere the gilding to the image, and it is such a fun thing that I'm just determined to figure it out. Now I will tell you, it was a little tedious doing this part, but I really used it as a learning experience. And so I'm going to show you some things of to do and not to do with the heat and stick powder. And there's a very fine line in between getting it just right. So the other thing is, you don't have to be so you don't have to be too terribly fastidious about making it perfect, because some of mine were more gold, less gold, better image, you could see, but the overall composition of the card turned out beautifully. And so I'm going to get ready to share. First of all, this is the Pale Papaya. It's one of our new in colors for this year, for our new catalog. If you don't have a catalog, please let me know and I will get you one if you don't have a demonstrator. The other thing that I used was some paper from the Expressions in Ink bundle, or designer series paper, specialty paper, and it has gold stripe on one side, and then it's just a print on the other, but not just any print. It's a really beautiful print. And then I also used this comes in 12 by 12, by the way. And then this is the shimmer vellum. I think you can see it in the light. There you go. It is so pretty. It's really more opaque than a normal vellum, and but it is just, it makes anything beautiful. It is so pretty. And then I used, I didn't have that right with me. Let me grab that. This pretty gold metallic ribbon, and this is let's see what it is, the fine art ribbon. So I placed that in the center, and then I did my other so that's basically how I assembled my card. Those were the layers. I have one more die cut that I did with this stamp set comes with, or it has a die cut that matches, which it has the seahorse, the koi fish, little fish, and then some coral. So I decided to go with the gold and rose gold. This is the gold and rose gold pack. I know it's stunning. This is completely smooth. It has no glitter texture on it, so it's a delightful paper to work with. And so I cut out the seahorse using, what I did is I put some of the adhesive sheets, the double back adhesive sheets, they're available in the catalog. Just put a sheet of that on and then ran it through the die cut machine so that the adhesive is already on the back of my seahorse. Okay, so basically that's how I put the card together, and then I added some sequins. So what I'm going to show you first is how I applied, the gold gilding. First of all, just so you know what this gold gilding looks like, I'm going to switch it back here because I think, okay, so the gold gilding is, it comes in a bottle like this, and it is it's called gilded leafing, not gold. I guess that would insinuate that it was gold leaf, but it's gilded leafing. It's basically a mylar type product, and but you can see I've got this clear container because once you start working with it, like it comes in this, and that's a ton of product, but it sort of grows. So I would suggest that you get some kind of contained box that you can put it in so that you can kind of work with it inside the box. I'll show you in a minute. And then when you'll want some kind of a stamping sponge to take the gilding off of the sticky part. There's a couple ways you can use the gilding, and I'm going to, again, like I said, I'm working with the heat and stick powder. So I'm going to show you how that works. I wanted to show you the big picture item there. So I'm going to take my 3 little fish, my 1 fish, and my coral, and I am going to stamp on this sheet with some Versamark. And the Versamark is a pigment ink, and it basically gives you kind of a watermark. If you stamp it on a solid color, it'll make whatever this color is just a little bit darker, so you'll see the image. But I'm just going to stamp it, and this is a little bit difficult to see, so I'm just going to stamp it, take that off, then I'm going to ink my fish really well. I want it to be looking like it's going into the coral. And then I'm going to take the little fish, and I'm going to stamp. The way this stamp is made is that it has the 3 and kind of in a triangle, so you can kind of figure out where you need to stamp in order to get it so that it looks like it's a little school of fish. It's a pretty fun stamp set. Okay, so now I have a piece of scrap paper. I'm just going to put this, in here. And I am going to sprinkle the heat and stick. You can see there's some gold gilding leftovers from all my swaps that I made. So I'm going to put this gold gild on here. I always tap off. It's just like using embossing powder. The technique, basically, heat embossing powder. But now the trick is, I'm going to put this back in here real quick so I don't spill it everywhere. And then, but the trick of this is to only heat this just until it turns. And if you heat it, you really only need to heat it for like 3 seconds, if that. And the other thing you need is an embossing gun, and this gets up to 400 and some degrees, so don't touch the ends. But it will melt this heat and stick powder, and what you want is you want a sticky finish, not a powdery finish. So I'm going to turn this on for a minute and let this get warm. I'm just barely touching it on my skin to see how hot it is, because you don't want to burn yourself. Keep it moving all the time. Okay, let me just go here. Now I'm going to hold this up so see if you guys can see this. I'm just going to go whoop, 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 whoop. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking the edge up. I don't want it to be at all grainy from the embossing powder. I think I got it. So see, you can see there, I don't have any granular. Let me bring it down just a minute. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. I don't want grain. Now on this end, I may have heated it a little too long, because you can see it kind of went into the paper. I'm hopeful that this fish came out really well. I think you can see that barely. So I've got my image on here. So now is where the fun begins, or what I think is fun. All right, so I'm going to take, I'll do this. Oh, this is so fun. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to pick up some of the leaf and I'm going to press it on to my art. And this stuff will fly everywhere, so you just kind of gotta, that's why I like working with it in the box. And you press it on so that it's, I mean, the idea is for it to stick to that image. Now, when you're finished, when you think you've got it, oh yeah. Oh, it's so pretty. You guys see that? How it's coming off? And yep, I did get this in, just not quite enough. Now, what I like to do, I'm gonna, you can use this with glitter, this heat and stick powder. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and heat this just a little bit again. And I don't think you really have to, but when you're using it with glitter, that was one of the things they told you to do, is to heat it again so it just sort of sets it. Okay, so you can see this is not, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. And it is very beautiful for a background. It gives the, oh, there you get some glitter. That's beautiful. Sorry, I'm going up a little high. Okay, so that was the first step in making the, my swap. Well, actually, I'm also going to go ahead and show you what I did with my, I have a big shot here. I'm just gonna go back here. All right, so what I'm gonna do with this is I wanted a little texture on the front. So I'm just gonna put this in our hammered embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder. And some of the thicker, there are different thicknesses of our embossing folders. Some are thin. This one is, I think this one is actually a 3D. What you want to do is you want this gray cutting plate or embossing plate, because you only use it for embossing. You want your base cut, cutting, what is it called? Cutting plate. Base. Cutting base. There you go. And then you're going to want to just roll this through. Oops. And it pops and cracks sometimes. Don't be afraid of it. And you have this really cool, texture. Now, it's usually a little bit longer than the front of the card, so you get a little bit of overlap. You wouldn't have to do that, but I don't mind it. And actually, I think it's kind of cool on the back of the card to have a little bit of texture. So that back out of the way. So now I have my card base and I have my layers on top, and I'm just going to use some Stamp and Seal. Got the bead. And I cut this so that it would be, just have a nice little border. I think it's actually, like 3 inches by 4 inches. And then I've got a piece, what I did is I took, the Stamp and Seal is nice because you can kind of lift it back up. And I just took this and my ribbon, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra space. And I don't know if I can take a little bit of this and stick it down. That. that. And then the nice thing about this the shimmer vellum is that you can actually put the adhesive on the back and it doesn't show a lot. It's much easier to hide the adhesive when you put it together. And then I'm just going to put a little bit on top to hold that down. I'm going to tie a knot in the center. All right, and then what I did is this thread is super, super fun to pull, and one side pulls really easily. Oh, well, now it's going to make a liar out of me. Oh, let's see here. Get it down here. One side pulled really easily. I mean, I made 20 of them, so I'm really not lying to you. One pulled easily. There we go. It's because I had it on a point. So, all right. So this, I just cut that off. So I had this cool frayed edge here. And now this side is a little bit more cantankerous. So what I did, I'm just going to cut this edge down here. And I'm not cutting it all the way through. And then you can kind of pull these other pieces out. So you can get a nice frayed edge. I really like fraying the edge on my ribbons sometimes when it's conducive to that, because it adds some fun texture. So you're just gonna pull that down. Woo. You have again, this was not a non-messy card to make, but it sure was fun. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to, this is the beauty of using the adhesive sheets. I'm just pulling that off, and this is all sticky now. And I'm just going to place my seahorse right here. And then for some of the embellishments, I use these metallic pearls, and we have these in gold and silver. And so I gave my little fish in the background a silver eye. That helps also to define where the fish is. These are just sort of background. And then I gave my seahorse, which this was my favorite thing, a blue eye. I just love seahorses. And then I have a couple of these come the adhesive backed sequins. This is Artistry Blooms. It comes in a package like this, and I love them. And I used the dark orange and the light peach and the blue. So obviously I need some of the darker ones. So what I did is I went the dark one down at the bottom. And I have a small dark one right around in the coral, and then I went with the light. I mean, you can do it however you want, but really that's it. And look, I think I figured out the whole heat and stick. It just really takes practice to get that, to figure out where you get that sweet spot of melting the heat and stick, but not so much that it absorbs into the paper, because that's really what happens. It kind of just, it turns to liquid and it absorbs into the paper super fast. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And a fun little fact is that I went to this leadership workshop this weekend, and we did swaps, and they voted on all the swaps anonymously, and this one won. I was so excited and so surprised, and I was shocked. But I was excited because there were a lot of really pretty things there. So I just wanted to I hope you've learned some things about how to use some new tools and some new embellishments. And if you don't have the gold gilding, it is just fabulous. You can also use it with the tear and tape. If this is a little too scary, you can just lay lines down and then you get gilded lines, and they are gorgeous. I'll do that on an upcoming video. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a fabulous day. I'll put links down below for the products that I used. And don't forget, if you like, please subscribe and share with your friends. And if you have any questions about anything stampin', let me know in the comments.